Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Wow. Some heavy garments today. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari. Yashodhanandana Radha Yashodhanandana Radha Yamuna Jira Vanachari. Yamuna Jira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we're reading from Prabhupada's Nectar. This is Leelas of a Pure Devotee, which is as good as Bhagavatam. We're on volume 5, text 13, titled Prabhupada said, prescriptions for ailments while living as a brahmachari in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Srila Krishna Das developed a very bad headache. The headache continued day and night for over a month. Srila Krishna saw 3 different doctors, but not one of them could stop his headache. Finally, Srila Krishna wrote to Prabhupada asking for advice. Prabhupada answered me as follows: regarding your headaches, your bowels are not clear. This is the cause of the problem. So you should take more milk and fruits, and eat less wheat and rice. If sandalwood oil is available, you try to massage on your shaved head. let me know how this trouble is improving. The brahmachari should not have any complaint of bodily disease. Letter dated February 17, 1969. Krishna Krishna followed Prabhupada's remedy, and within 4 days, the headache went away. Madhusudana Das once had trouble with acne, and Prabhupada asked him what was wrong. Well, said Madhusudana, I'm growing up, and a lot of kids get acne on their faces. It's pimples. Prabhupada told him to put a little tilak on each pimple. Madhusudana did, and the remedy seemed to work. But because Madhusudana thought the tilak made his face appear ghastly, he stopped the treatment. When Prabhupada saw him next, he asked why he was no longer using the tilak. Madhusudana explained why. Prabhupada then told him to mix boric acid powder and olive oil in a spoon and heat it over the fire. The result is a skin-colored cream similar to the kinds sold in drugstores and effective for controlling acne. Giriraj Swami once had a very bad case of boils. They were so bad that Giriraj Swami could only lie in bed listening to the tape of Prabhupada singing the Govinda prayers. Prabhupada came to his room to see how he was doing and recommended a cure made from camphor and other ingredients. Prabhupada later commented to his secretary, Srila Das, that like Srila Giriraj Swami liked sweets too much. He advised that Giriraj Swami go on a sugarless diet. Palika Dasi was once very ill, and although doctors had prescribed mud packs from the Yamuna and other remedies, she remained in a critical condition. A devotee described to Prabhupada Palika Dasi's symptoms. Prabhupada said she should take Charnamrita and that 2 women devotees should alternate chanting Hare Krishna right next to Palika all day and night. Palika Dasi was cured with this treatment. Wow. Once Satyabhama Dasi was sick and asked Prabhupada if she should go to the doctor. Prabhupada said yes, since we do not know very much about his body. If we're sick, we have to go to the doctor. He also said that if the doctor wants to learn about spiritual life, he has to come to us. Text 14. Yamuna Dasi was not sure of how Srila Prabhupada wanted the deity of Srimati Radharani to appear. Often Radharani's right hand is raised with the palm facing outward, and her left hand is at her side holding a lotus flower. In Mayapur, at Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's temple, however, Radharani's arms are bent and her hands are at the same height. Should she be like that? Yamuna Dasi asked Prabhupada. No, said Srila Prabhupada. She should stand like this. And Prabhupada struck a pose. He raised his right hand and cupped his palm, and bent his left arm and held the palm downward. He then turned his head and tilted it slightly. To Yamuna Dasi, Prabhupada appeared to be in classic and very graceful pose of Srimati Radharani dancing. Then Prabhupada said, if Radharani were to stop dancing, the whole business would be finished. He then explained that in Vrindavan, Radharani never stops dancing, and that of all her super excellent qualities, Radharani's cooking and her dancing are particularly outstanding. Prabhupada said that no one can excel Radharani in her ability to please Krishna by cooking, and that she cooks for him eternally without ever making the same preparation twice. In this way, Prabhupada explains, she keeps Krishna under her control. Then he said that even above her cooking skill is her dancing skill. Therefore, Prabhupada said, in the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani would be dancing. Later he said, Radharani is the color of sindura powder and kingu powder mixed with milk. Text 15. Before becoming a devotee, Sachinanda Das had been associated with the German devotees for several weeks, but he had not actually resolved to join. He had certain doubts and a resistance to becoming a devotee. He therefore decided to put all of his doubts into one question, which he thought of as a kind of a test to prove that Srila Prabhupada was his spiritual master. He got the chance to ask his question when Prabhupada visited London in 1972. Open quotation marks. Why did Krishna create Maya, which is only good for keeping us bound in birth and death? Close quotation. Sachinanda asked. Srila Prabhupada did not hear the question, and his secretary asked Sachinanda to repeat it. Sachinanda did, and suddenly Prabhupada shouted, "Not Krishna created Maya, you created Maya." Prabhupada went on to explain how the living entity is guilty of separating himself from God. Sachinanda was deeply shocked. He felt as if he was personally to blame for forgetting Krishna, and that Prabhupada had cut through his own Maya. A few days later, he resolved to surrender to Krishna and become a serious devotee. The devotees met with some difficulties in their preaching in Japan, and a Madras newspaper picked up the story and reported on ISKCON's troubles there. Then, during their Janmashtami celebration, some members of the Gaudiya Math made an announcement about ISKCON's troubles in Japan. A life member told Prabhupada what was being said by his godbrothers and the members of the Gaudiya Math. Prabhupada then spoke very strongly about how ISKCON was at least doing something. Later on, a morning walk in the Lord, Srila Prabhupada's disciples mentioned how some disciples of Prabhupada's godbrothers had said that if Lord Chaitanya wanted Krishna consciousness to be spread all over the world, he would have done it himself. Prabhupada lifted his cane above his head and said that Lord Chaitanya had left the work to him. Prabhupada spoke with unquestioning and undeviating conviction. He gave the example of how Krishna let Arjuna fight for him instead of killing everyone himself. He said that Lord Chaitanya had left it for him so that he could get the credit. Text 16. Prabhupada tells short stories. During class in Los Angeles, Prabhupada commented on a cinema sign that he had seen. The movie title was, "Is There Sex After Death?" Srila Prabhupada, because material life means sex, they are seeking sex after death. This is plain acceptance of materialistic life. They're inquiring, is there sex after death? Because if there's sex after death, then they are not fearful of death. There's a story that one man was drinking. In India, drinking is considered a great sin. So his friend advised him, because you are drinking, you will go to hell. He replied, my father also drinks. So his friend said, then your father will also go to hell. And he replied, oh, my brother also drinks. Then he will also go to hell. In this way, he continued to say, my father, my brother, my sister, my this, my that, and his friend was replying, yes, they will also go to hell. Then the man said, oh, then hell is like heaven, because if we are all drinking here, and we can drink there, what is the hell? That is heaven. Similarly, this sign is like that. If sex is there after death, then materialists think that it is not that is life. Actually, they have got sex after death because they will get another body. Now they are having sex as human beings in very nice apartments or in the street, on the beach, as they like. In the next life, also, as cats and dogs, they will have sex life. Sex life is not denied because the next life is there. Prabhupada would sometimes tell a joke which criticized the mentality of Indians who blindly copied Westerners. There was once an Indian man who came to America knowing only 3 English words: yes, no, and very good. One day, a policeman who was investigating the theft of a car questioned the proud immigrant. The policeman said to the man, "Did you steal the car?" "Yes." "Are you going to give it back?" "No." "So then we're going to throw you in jail." Very good. 17. Prabhupada said, question, how many other people are there on the planet who have made as much spiritual progress as you have? Srila Prabhupada, some, but not many. But there are a few. There are no statistics in my possession. What is the use of taking statistics of how many are there? Why don't you become one of them? Why are you wasting your time in that way? These are not very intellectual questions. You just try to become enlightened. What is the use of knowing who is enlightened or not? You try to be enlightened, that's all. When you are going somewhere purchasing the plane ticket, do you ask, how many tickets can you sold, huh? What is the use? You just purchase your ticket and get on the airplane and go. Don't waste your valuable time in that way. If you are serious, just purchase your ticket and get on the airplane. That's all. All right. Chant Hare Krishna. Question, if we are on the street collecting money and we are thinking, oh, I'm a very good collector, I'm collecting so nicely, is that all right? Srila Prabhupada, yes, you're a very good collector for Krishna. Question, but if we, Srila Prabhupada, yes, you should be proud, you should feel proud, I'm working for Krishna very nicely, you don't reject anything, even this pride, yes, I am greater servant of Krishna. Yes, I'm proud. That kind of pride is nice. Yes. Question. This might be a stupid question, but Srila Prabhupada, well, we're all stupids. So questions must be stupid because we're stupids. He says, I have heard in the street. We have to hear everything from Krishna. Then it is perfect. Question. Well, sometimes I feel what they call chakras. I feel clear light over here, and I feel something swirling over here that they call the house of the upper lotus. Is this my imagination, or are these things real? Srila Prabhupada, yes, it is imagination. If you just open your skull, you will find no lotus there. It is your imagination, that's all. These imaginations are prescribed for persons who are too much absorbed in the bodily concept of life. Here is a lotus, here's a nonsense. Here's a notion of bliss. You have to find out. It is just to make him concentrate. Just like that naughty boy, to make him stop doing nonsense. Please sit down here. Stop all this. Our proposition. I am not this body. Even if there's a lotus, what I have to do with this lotus? My first proposition is, I am not this body. 18 realizations. Prabhupada never showed any odd moment that was not in his character. The more we realize it, the more we benefit. I was with Srila Prabhupada in Toronto. He was preaching to some professors, and then the devotees brought in a big opulent plate of prasadam for him. Prabhupada looked at it, and almost under his breath, he said, I have no teeth, and I have no appetite. Srila Prabhupada could not take the prasadam due to his condition, yet he was fully tasting the mellows of Krishna consciousness. Despite the inconvenience, he was preaching. He did not say, I cannot eat, so I'm going to lie down. A nurse and a doctor should be there, and I'll just worry. Under his breath, Prabhupada may say, I cannot eat, but he is preaching to the professors. Satsvarup Swami. Prabhupada's qualities are so real that a person can develop great respect for him just by seeing his picture and hearing his lectures. When I joined the movement, my parents were extremely upset. My father had a very big position in the civil government, and we used to chant near the parliament building where he worked. Victoria is a very small town, and to be a man of importance and to have your son out in the streets in bedsheets was very difficult, so my parents opposed. I used to send them back to Godhead magazines. However, and just by looking at the magazines, they both developed a great respect for Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada became sick, they showed real concern and asked, how's Prabhupada? Just by seeing Prabhupada's picture and reading his articles, they came to realize that he was a very saintly person. Prabhupada was such a saint that anyone who would be exposed to him, even if they were at first inimical, would actually develop some faith that he was at least a great man. Bahudak Das. Trivikram Swami had been serving in the Far East for 4 years, and he wanted to return to America to preach. He approached Prabhupada in Mayapur and told him of his desire, but Prabhupada only said, "I have so many preachers in America." Trivikram took this as a sign that Prabhupada wanted him to remain in the Far East, and he began approaching people to help him open a center in Korea. Then Gopal Krishna, the GPC for India, came to him and said, "Prabhupada wants you to stay and help manage Mayapur." Trivikram Swami told Gopal Krishna that he already had his ticket and that he was not going to stay. The next day, Trivikram Swami visited Prabhupada in his room, and Gopal Krishna was there. Prabhupada, Trivikram Swami said he's not going to stay in Mayapur like he wanted. Gopal Krishna said. Prabhupada then asked Trivikram why, and Trivikram began offering excuses. After hearing his excuses, Prabhupada told him that although our philosophy was plain living, high thinking, Trivikram Swami was addicted to the cities, so wouldn't agree to stay in the country. Trivikram Swami then made another excuse, and Prabhupada again chastised him. He said that as a sannyasi, Trivikram Swami had given up everything but his whim. Then Trivikram offered another excuse. He said that although he had been a sannyasi for 5 years, he had not had a chance to preach in English. Trivikram Swami asked how he could preach in Bengal since he didn't speak Bengali. "Oh," Prabhupada said, "you've been a sannyasi for 5 years and you haven't had a chance to preach. So what makes you think you know how to preach?" Trivikram Swami then realized that without Prabhupada's mercy, he would not know how to preach. He then surrendered and felt spiritual strength. Text 19. While working with Prabhupada in India, Tamal Krishna Goswami had many opportunities to see how Prabhupada conducted himself while interacting with the material world. Prabhupada was the first preacher of Krishna consciousness in the modern age to travel around the world engaging the material energy in Krishna's service. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that only a Vaishnava is ideally suited to ride cars and to use large buildings for spreading Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada set a perfect example of using such things without attachment. Prabhupada wanted the Vaishnavas to be appreciated, and in his own sweet and innocent way, he was proud of the material facility which came to him for spreading Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes speak with great pride over the fact that as an author, publisher, and businessman, he had received $50,000 credit with the Dai Nippon Printing Company of Japan after making a down payment of only $5,000. He also expressed transcendental pride in his Bank of America credit card, which enabled him to withdraw $100 from banks and other businesses simply by showing the card. Prabhupada was also proud of his green card, which allowed him to remain in the United States for as long as he wanted. Prabhupada would sometimes show his Bank of America credit card and his green card to life members in India. He took pride in his preaching facilities, which he received on the merit of his good character and his established position. 20. Prabhupada tells a story dealing with Indians. Prabhupada was once speaking to his disciples about bogus yogis. He named 4 prominent Mayavadi gurus and noted that each one of them was a Bengali. He said that they had ruined the whole world with their philosophy, but that there was another Bengali who would destroy them. The devotees began to laugh, and Prabhupada told the story. And next was talking to a tree. "I will cut you down," said the tree. "No, you cannot do that," said that. This is that one. "I will cut you down," said the X. "No, you cannot do that," said the tree. But I'm very sharp, the axe answered. You cannot do anything unless I first give you one of my branches for a handle, the tree said. Then Prabhupada began to laugh. He asked his disciples if they understood, but no one did, so Prabhupada gave an explanation. He said that although they were very intelligent American boys and girls, they could not cut down the Bengalis. He said that only if another Bengali helped them could they defeat the rascal Bengalis. He said that although they were very intelligent American boys and girls, they could not cut down the Bengalis. He said that only if another Bengali helped them could they defeat the rascal Bengalis. So it took somebody who's of that similar quality. Just like the axe is made out of the tree, you need a Bengali to chop down other Bengalis. And this is very true. Preaching to Bengalis it's like banging your head on concrete. On another occasion, Prabhupada told his Indian listeners not to be like those Indians who are quick to say, I know Krishna. Then he told the story. There was once a man who every day brought water to the temple of Lord Jagannath. The man used to think, I don't need to see Lord Jagannath. I come here every day, so I can see him anytime I want. Let the others see him. Day after day went by, but the man never went to see Lord Jagannath. Finally, the man died without once seeing the Lord. Prabhupada then instructed his Indian audience to learn from his disciples how to serve Krishna. Once, some of the Indian guests of the London temple formed a club of their own, and they would hold programs in the very place temple and present gifts to the deities. A lady who was a member of the club once complained to Prabhupada about some of the club's members' dealings with her. Prabhupada became angry. He called Prabhupada Vishnu Swami, the temple president, and severely reprimanded him for allowing the club to exist. He told Prabhupada Vishnu Swami that the club must be disbanded at once. He stressed that only the most qualified devotees should be allowed to speak in the temple. It's a very important point. So I'm not qualified. Text 21. Prabhupada tells short stories. Prabhupada once told a story showing how Vedic education satisfies. 300 years ago, there lived a very staunch but very poor Brahmana in Krishna Nagar near Mayapur. The king Raja Krishna Chandra heard of the learned Brahmana and he went to visit him. Brahmana, the king said, can I help you in any way? No, I don't require any help from you, the Brahmana answered. But I can see you are so poverty-stricken. The king said, no, said the Brahmana, I am not poverty-stricken. My students bake some rice, which my wife boils, and here's a tamarind tree, so I take some leaves and boil them. I'm not poverty-stricken. Prabhupada then explained that one who knows Brahman is satisfied. Brahmabhuta Rasanatma. He said that a Brahmana is satisfied with whatever comes to him. And he said that formerly this independence from material desire was very much valued. Modern education, however, kills this independence. Prabhupada said that high technology means that people must depend upon machines for their livelihood, so they suffer. Prabhupada once told a story about word jugglery. Long ago, a student appeared for his big examination. Once, one of the questions was about the reign of Haridwar Basta. The student did not remember anything about this person, but to pass his time, he began to manufacture words. Haridwar Basta was a Dobendi lactylized by the Plactoni of Tinda. In this way, the student filled up the whole paper. The examiner saw that the boy had simply manufactured words, but understanding that this required a little intelligence, he gave the boy a passing mark. In a similar way, many books are published that are manufactured only out of nonsense, but because it takes a little intelligence to juggle words, those books are considered valuable. Text 22. Prabhupada said, on eating, you should not eat the whole thing. You should eat half, and 1/4 you shall fill up with water, and 1/4 you should leave vacant, so that there may be ventilation. Your digestion will be easily done. This is Ayurvedic law. Even if you think that you can eat so much, you should not voluntarily eat so much. You should eat half, and 1/4 you should fill up with water, and 1/4 you should keep vacant for air ventilation. Then there will be no disease. It is hygienic principle. As soon as you eat more than what you can digest, you become diseased. Conversation, August 26, 1973. Prabhupada once asked Hari Shori Das about his health. Hari Shori said he had been cutting down on his eating. In Australia, you are reducing? Prabhupada asked. If there is hunger, you should eat. Hari Shori then told Prabhupada how he had read in the 7th canto that if someone is serious about spiritual life, he will eat only once a day. Prabhupada's mood then changed. Oh, that is good. Yes. By not eating, one becomes weak, but does not die. One dies by eating. By not eating, one does not die. Like me, I'm not eating, but I'm not dying. Once in Hyderabad, Prabhupada and some of his disciples visited the home of a wealthy gentleman from Gujarat. While there, the devotees were served sumptuous prasadam, which they relished enthusiastically. In the middle of the meal, Prabhupada said, this is how prasadam should be, so good that even if you are not hungry, you'll eat it. Not that even if you're hungry, you can't eat it. One more time. This is how prasadam should be, so good that even if you're not hungry, you will eat it. Not that even if you are hungry, you can't eat it. Okay. Once in Madras, Harikesha Swami and Shramanandana Das made chapatis for Prabhupada. As the chapati would come off the fire, Harikesha Swami would rush from the kitchen to Srila Prabhupada. The first time he did this, Prabhupada rejected the chapati, saying it was not hot. Harikesha Swami and Shramanandana then rushed back to the kitchen to heat up another chapati. Harikesha Swami took the chapati off the fire again, ran the short distance to Prabhupada's room, and dropped the chapati on Prabhupada's plate. Prabhupada asked what was wrong with them that they couldn't bring it hot. Once more, the devotees ran to the kitchen. Just as the chapati puffed up on the fire, Harikesha Swami sprinted to Prabhupada's room and put the chapati on his plate. Prabhupada pulled the chapati apart, and as he did, some steam escaped into the air. Yes, Prabhupada said, this is chapati. Chapati means hot. On prasadam and health. In Miami, there are so many mangoes and coconuts. I'm enjoying those from Florida. The orange ones especially are very nice. I'm taking one each day. From the green mangoes, you can make pickles. Cut them into pieces with skin intact and sprinkle with salt and turmeric. Dry them well in the sunshine and put into mustard oil. They will keep for years and you can enjoy it with eating. They're nice and soft and good for digestion. If no vegetable is available, you can eat them with puris, similarly with pickled chilies. When mango pickles and chili pickles are combined, it is very tasteful. The Miami temple sounds to be very nice, with bathing place and peacocks, just like Vrindavan. Krishna will supply you everything. Don't worry, just work sincerely. Letter of July 8, 1976. If a man works, then he can digest stones. Prabhupada once said that he who cannot sleep immediately upon resting and who passes stool immediately after eating will soon be called by Yamaraj. But if he passes stool before eating and urine after, a physician cannot earn a living from him. Prabhupada once asked about the health of the New Vrindavan community's horse. Prabhupada once said that he who cannot sleep immediately upon resting and who passes stool immediately after eating will soon be called by Yamaraj. But if he passes stool before eating and urine after, a physician cannot earn a living from him. So it's healthy to pass stool before prasada and urine after prasada. And vice versa, it's not healthy. The other way around. Prabhupada once asked about the health of the new Vrindavan community's house. A disciple said the house was a horse, the Vrindavan community horse. A disciple said the horse was sick. Prabhupada told the devotee to feed the horse chickpeas. He said chickpeas are very good for horses and make them strong. 23. Little drops of nectar. Pictures of Mayapur. Every year in Mayapur, the devotees cut sugar cane, press it, and cook down the juice and press it into gourd. One year, the sugar cane was stacked outside the kitchen near the Grihastha ashram. Many of the boys and girls from the Gurukul would come and take pieces of sugar cane, chew them, and spit the pulp here and there. On one occasion, these spittings had been swept into a pile and left near the stack of unoffered sugar cane. Prabhupada saw the pile of spitting and he began chastening the devotees, most of whom were Bengalis. He told them that although they called themselves Hindus, they had come to the temple just to go to hell. He asked them what had become of their culture, that they would leave spittings near Krishna's Bhoga. As Prabhupada chastised the devotees, a 2-year-old toddler came walking by eating a piece of sugarcane. Seeing this, a 60-year-old Bengali devotee grabbed the sugarcane from the child's hands and chastised the child, who immediately began to cry. Prabhupada said, Ustadi Bo Cha, although your eyes were blind, you are now the coach. Okay. In Mayapur, dacoits would attack the temple. They would take some explosive, roll it into a ball along with scraps of iron and wrap it up with the jute twine. The completed bomb was the size of a baseball and would remove a limb or kill someone. One night, while Prabhupada was staying in the Mayapur temple, the dacoits attacked, throwing many homemade bombs. No one was hurt, but the next day Prabhupada wanted to report. Jayapataka Swami told Prabhupada that some shrapnel had been left by the bombs, and he explained the situation. Prabhupada told him to get some guns, and he told a story about Narada Muni. Narada Muni once had a cobra as his disciple. After the snake became Narada's disciple, he gave up his dangerous habits. Knowing this, the village children would harass him with sticks. The snake became distraught. Narada asked the snake what was wrong, and the cobra explained his difficulty. Narada then told the snake that whenever the children came to harass him, he should expand his hood and raise his head up as if prepared to strike. He said the sight of this would scare the children away. Prabhupada then instructed Jayapataka Swami to take guns and frequently fire them into the air to scare off the dacoits. The devotees acquired 2 guns and they divided themselves up into crews to stand guard at night. Sometimes Prabhupada would be up late at night translating, and he would go out with flashlight to inspect the guards. One time Prabhupada shined his flashlight into Shatadanya Swami's face. Shatadanya Swami had been eating chapatis with gourd. Prabhupada asked him what he was doing, and Shatadanya Swami explained that he had gone out all day and that the devotees had saved him something to eat. Prabhupada told him to be alert. Later that night, Shatadanya Swami was patrolling with his flashlight. He somehow sensed that there was someone hiding under a stairway. He crouched down and shined his flashlight under the steps. And there was Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Shatadanya Swami exclaimed. and offered his obeisances. I was just checking on you, Prabhupada said. Nice. Okay, we'll do uno más, one more. The little drops of nectar, text 24. Prabhupada does not waste anything. Srila Prabhupada was once walking with some disciples when he stopped and pointed to a willow tree. Take twigs, he said. After Aravinda Das removed 3 or 4 twigs from the tree, Prabhupada raised his hand and said not to take more than necessary. The devotees realized he did not want to cause unnecessary harm to the tree. In Los Angeles in 1972, Prabhupada went on two morning walks wearing an oversized dhoti that the devotees had offered to him. The dhoti was twice as long as it should be and almost twice as wide. Prabhupada had wrapped this dhoti around himself and rolled it up so that it formed a very large bundle around his stomach. When the devotees saw him in it, everyone, including Prabhupada, laughed. When Atreya Rishi asked Prabhupada if he could get a pair of scissors and cut the dhoti to the proper size, Prabhupada became upset. Cut, 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 he said. Everything you want to cut. He then explained that although his Western boys were very wonderful, they had no concept about wasting Krishna's energy. He then began to complain of how the New York temple had been repainted 2, 3, 4 times. Prabhupada looked at Atreya Rishi with a pained expression on his face, and Atreya Rishi felt Prabhupada was imploring him to help stop the waste. Navina Krishnadas was a grihasta with many family responsibilities. He once asked Prabhupada how it would be possible for him to think of Krishna 24 hours a day, since he had so many family duties. Prabhupada looked at Navina Krishnadas and asked if he had 24 hours a day in a day. Navina Krishna said yes. Prabhupada then said that out of those 24 hours, he worked 8 or 10 hours, spent 6 or 7 hours sleeping, and used 2 hours for eating. This left 5 or 6 hours free. Navina Krishna Das agreed that this was a true picture of his schedule. Prabhupada then asked him if he was using all that extra time to serve Krishna. Navina Krishna Das couldn't reply. Prabhupada then said that if he used all this time for Krishna service, then Krishna would show him how to serve him more. On hearing this, Navina Krishna Das became very enlightened. Okay. Prabhupada Nectar ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Devotees ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay.